Hi. I was scared.
All right.
Shoot, man. I guess my first question is, like, how long have you been doing this? How long have you been playing music?
Well, I started playing drums when I was about 13 years old, and I played for about 3 or 4 years, and then I switched over to bass. I sold my drum set, and I switched over to bass guitar, yeah. And after about 9 months of playing bass, I was just as bad as I was on the first day. So I sold that. I was like, I can't do it, you know. And then I picked up guitar and played off and on, you know, throughout like my teens to like my late teens. And then once I was in my late teens and on is when I started taking it more serious. And probably my early 20s, I really started like really laying into it, you know. And here we are. Tuscaloosa was where I was born, and I lived there until I was about 6. And then I lived down in Bruton, Alabama, which is where the rest of my family lives now. Between there and like Northwest Florida, yeah, it all looks the same anyhow. But down there, it all looks the same. It's all hot, yeah. And all hot and backwoods, man, you know. So it's I lived there until 2015, I think. I was about 5 or 6 years old, and I heard this, it was Big Mama Thornton singing, and it was Mississippi Fred McDowell playing guitar behind her, and he was playing every note that she was singing. And I was like, it's a song called My Heavy Load by Big Mama Thornton. It's the first blues song I ever remember hearing, one of the first songs I ever remember hearing. And, I mean, even as a kid, I remember just being like, wow, man, like, what is that? You know, like, oh my God, what is that? And I've just been fascinated with it ever since, you know? You know, it just kind of happened. Man, I mean, ever since I was a kid, you know, like my family would tell me, you know, I'd be like singing in the kitchen, you know, along with all these records and stuff. And it was always like a dream of mine to play music, but I never really took it that seriously until I was going through some pretty dark stuff, man, at a certain point in my life. And you know, some friends of mine had just started playing music, and they were like, man, you're really good. You just got to get in front of people. And I was like, at a certain point, man, I had nothing to lose, you know, and I had no direction to go, you know, and so I was like, I might as well, you know, it's, I mean, I had to kind of save my life, you know. A lot of folks don't know about R.L. Burnside. They don't know about Mississippi Fred McDowell or Junior Kimbrough, you know, or Booker White or, you know, Robert Belfour or any of them folks, you know what I mean? But everybody knows about Buddy Guy and B.B. King. And, you know, a lot of folks know Muddy Waters after he moved to Chicago and got a big old band behind him, you know. So playing this kind of music, man, I mean, it's just a different style of blues. You know, and folks like Junior Kimbrough and R.L. Burnside made it popular. But basically, we're just trying to, you know, we play a lot of these songs first and foremost because I love these songs. And this is the kind of blues I grew up listening to. And then, you know, being up here, we just try to tell people about it. And then we try to, like, bridge a gap of, like, modern music, you know, versus old music like that. That, you know, like them folks, they didn't plug in their guitars. You know, they didn't have drums and, you know, no distortion in the amps or nothing like that, you know, so we try to bridge a gap to where we can have fans of how it used to be and folks who have never heard of it, try to bring them together, you know, to be able to enjoy it as much as we do, I guess. Some, you know, and I'm always branching out, you know, and looking for other artists, you know, especially artists that I can draw influence from. You know, so like folks like the Black Keys, you know, I think they're the best example of how you can take music like this, because that's what they started out playing, was music just like this, you know, and show how you can evolve that music to reach way more people, you know, and then those people can come back to, you know, all the old stuff, you know, so there's definitely a place for new artists. You know, because we're in a new day and age. I mean, it reflects just the times that we live in. you know, and but at the same time, all the old stuff is still, you know, it's still relative today. You know, so with that said, I mean, there's new artists that I like. You know, Gary Clark Jr. is one of them. You know, but Samantha Fish is another one. But again, I mean, they all come from backgrounds of like playing old stuff too. You know, and so I really like new artists in the sense that like they show a path of how you can evolve your music instead of just playing the same thing for 10 years. You know what I mean? As an artist, like you continuously have those moments, you know, as you're growing, you know, as an artist, and I guess like you could judge like rate of success by playing like bigger shows, you know, or having more people come to shows, you know, like every once in a while, like I have a moment where I step back and I'm just like, oh my goodness, you know, I made it this far. I mean, I just can't believe it, you know. Sometimes I just can't believe it, but I guess the first one was my first show, a long time ago, man, and I was a wreck. And my life was a wreck, but I got up there and I played it, man. There was a whole bunch of people at that show I didn't want to see at the time, and they showed up anyway, and you know, and it's like, well, I got to do it now, because what am I going to look like if I don't? You know, so I just sat up there and sang these songs about these folks that I was going through some things with at the time, pretty much right to their faces, you know, and again, it kind of goes back to just like having nothing else, you know what I mean? It's like I might as well put in 110% into all aspects of it, you know what I mean? Like just talking to the crowd, you know, you learn what to say and what not to say, you know? Even now sometimes, man, I'll say something and you know, be awful quiet, and I'll be like, okay, I won't say that one again, man, oops. You know? Yeah, you just like playing, you know, you learn as you go. It's part of talking to folks, it's part of the job, at least for what we do. Well, you got to work hard as hell at it, first of all, because entertainment in general is extremely competitive, you know, just like sports, you know. Two, don't box yourself in, you know, allow yourself room to grow and do what it is that you want to do. And if you have an idea, like, don't let anybody shut you down. You know, I mean, when I started playing, you know, you got like these folks from like these blues societies and everything, which there's certainly a place for them, and they have definitely helped me personally, you know. But one thing I see a lot about blues societies is that it's kind of like the music itself can be kind of cliche, you know, and kind of like the same thing everybody else is doing, you know. And so to think outside the box is what will catapult you forward, you know what I mean? And like, and just be confident in what you're doing and be fearless. You know, like look at like John Lee Hooker. John Lee Hooker, you know, is one of the most famous blues artists of all time, you know, and his style of blues was so different when he first came out, man, and he was fearless. I mean, he played one song 8 different ways, you know, and it was different every time, but he would still do it, and he made a name for himself doing just that. I mean, he's a prime example. I mean, even whenever he got a, you know, big old like Chicago band behind him, like many of those artists did, you know, I mean, he still kind of just kept it the way he wanted to do it because he didn't care, you know what I mean? He just, yeah, he's doing it for the love and just doing what he felt like, you know, and you just got to do what you feel like, man. And if you love it enough, you'll work hard enough at it to where folks will start paying attention, you know, and then once folks start paying attention, I mean, it just goes up from there. At least it should, you know? Well, we would like to be touring nationally regularly and internationally regularly. I mean, we do already tour nationally, but without a booking agent, you know? So it's like the next level of what we want to get into is playing more places that are, you know, like venues, like ticketed shows, like higher capacity type stuff, you know what I mean? And with artist lineups, you know? Just to tour in the new places that we have not been. You know, we've played in a lot of states, you know, since he and I have been working together especially. But and just get our music out to more people. Keep recording music and just putting it out there, I guess. Lately, it's been lyrics first, but I'll come up with guitar parts in my head, and I'm just like, oh man, that sounds cool, so I'll like record it on my phone or something real quick, you know. And then sometimes, I mean, there will be something that just jumps out at me. I mean, I was driving through Blewett Pass the other day, no service, you know, and then all of a sudden, man, I just had, I mean, an entire song, I just wrote it. Like, I texted it to myself, basically, like, or in my, like, my phone notes, you know, just wrote it to myself real quick, and it just kind of came, you know. It happens a lot of different ways, you know. A lot of the songs that we have been playing are old songs that I wrote, you know, and or old songs from older blues artists, you know. But we're working on some new stuff now that is different, but it still has the same feel to it, you know. So part of it is writing riffs first, but it's also like the whole next album is gonna have like a certain subject matter in mind. It's not necessarily a concept album, but the whole feel of the album, yeah, it's like a theme, exactly. You know, so it's gonna deal with that. So like I've been listening to all kinds of different artists too, you know, lately, especially lately, you know, so drawing a lot of different influences from other places and other styles of music, but still making sure that we're still sticking to our style in the writing process. So it's, I'm excited for it, man. I'm excited for it. We'll put it out sometime next year, so. I think what really sticks out to me the most, man, and this is in general, because it's kind of hard for me to pull any particular situation, but in general, man, when somebody's like, man, like I was just having such a terrible day, you know, and it just uplifted my spirit. You know, that's what my grandmother told me the first time she ever heard me play. And man, I went home and just cried, man. I mean, because I love her to death, you know, and I know she's been going through a hard time, and you know, or just like whenever fans come up and they're just like, man, I have not heard that kind of music in so long, you know. Or like there's another place that I played in Washington, and the owner of the venue, when she heard me play for the first time, like her dad used to play this kind of music, and he had long passed, and so it was the first time she'd ever heard anything like that in a long time. Man, she just came up to me with tears in her eyes, you know. I mean, it's moments like that, you know, moments, you know, when we're really making a difference in somebody's life are the good moments, you know. Or like I've had all kinds of cool things happen from meeting folks at shows, man. I mean, I've got to play all kinds of cool private parties, and like, I mean, I've been, you know, had people take us on planes, and like, not private jets, but like, you know, like a little like plane that could take you over the mountains and stuff, you know what I mean? And or like people inviting us to like hunting camp and stuff like that, you know, because I mean, I don't market myself as like a hunter, you know what I mean? But like the outdoors is equally as important to me as music. And you know, so anytime I ever meet anybody who is an outdoor enthusiast, you know, I got to meet Steven Ranella from Meat Eater. It's this podcast called Meat Eater, man, and he's a huge outdoor enthusiast and conservationist. And because of a private party that I played, I met this promoter who is the promoter for a bunch of different theaters in Seattle, for the Seattle Theater Group. And so he like got me tickets to go see Meat Eater. I got to meet Steven Ranella, who's like as an outdoorsman and also as a businessman, like one of my biggest idols, man. And I just like, you know, and I mean, I was just like, probably one of the only times I was ever kind of starstruck, you know, you know, because they're all just regular people too, you know. I mean, I've gotten free firewood when I was cold. Our last house had a wood burning stove, you know, so yeah, it's just all kinds of extremely cool things have happened in my life since I started playing music, you know, and I'm just extremely thankful. You know, it's just been a super cool ride, man. It's been a super cool ride.